All right, it's a lovely Wednesday evening, and of course, welcome to Meet Your Leaders right here on Ubuntu channel. And I'm glad to be back. Good to be back on a day like this one. Remember, today is the day of national prayer and fasting. Of course, reconciliation as well as forgiveness being coined into one. 18th is the date in the month of October, the year of 2023. I am your host, Lance Sani Banda, and of course, today with an exciting topic that we have, or a diverse one rather, for that matter, also with a very knowledgeable guest that we have. If I get to introduce my guest, let me get to introduce my co-host this evening, Chaza, whom we haven't been together. We always say this. Mostly, we are never together for at least quite some time. But hey, when time allows or when the space allows, we are always together and back in it. Chaza, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance, and it's good to be on the program tonight. I don't know what has happened to my settings video-wise. I'm yet to figure out. I can see that my shape is not as normal. Probably the parameters are different. But I'm glad to be here. I'll be joining, video-wise later on the program.
I was actually about to throw a joke about it, but hey, we leave it for another day. Yeah. All right. So
Sometimes technology is ahead of us.
So, to you, our
Yeah.
dear viewers, remember that today our exciting topic, we are looking at governance issues. This is due to the fact that the person we are hosting this particular evening is coming from an organization that watches governance of a country. We're talking about High Five Governance Watch, and this evening we are playing host to the country lead, that is Charles Mbombela, who is joining us on the program as we get to discuss different issues as far as governance is concerned. And also, let's get to rate where we are at in terms of governance in Zambia, looking at the 2 years of the new government and their performance. Mr. Mbombela, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance. Good evening, Chaza, and good evening to our esteemed listeners. I must say that it is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to be hosted by you colleagues. I look forward to having a very elaborate deliberation on this platform. Thank you so much.
All right. And of course, to you, our dear viewer, remember that you can be part of this interaction or you can be part of this broadcast as we are broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. We will be sharing with you the studio link shortly so that you can be a part, you can add your say to what we are discussing. Or, of course, you can ask a question, or if you have a view, you can be able to share it right here, because we are here for you, and definitely we broadcast this particular program for you so that you can get updated with what is happening in the motherland, as well as also get to add your voice to good governance. Now, Mr. Mbombela, let's kick the ball rolling. High Five Governance Watch. This is an organization that looks at the governance of a country or of the country, and you are the country lead here in Zambia. Perhaps let's get to introduce High Five to the people. I think last time I hosted you, it was on the debate, and we didn't even have much time to discuss High Five and its core mandate. Let's get into that route, and then after that, we get into the nitty gritties of the topic of discussion.
All right. Thank you so much, Lance, for that question, and indeed for giving me an opportunity, yet another opportunity, to talk about I5 Governance Watch Zambia. So I5 Governance Watch Zambia, as the name may suggest, is an organization that forms part of the African Charter for Organizations, African Charter for governance watch organizations. So this basically means that you'll find I5 Governance Watch in South Africa, in Namibia, in Congo, in Angola, in Kenya, even in Egypt. So the Zambian chapter is led by Charles Mbombela with other young people that are so passionate about governance and about leadership. So what the organization essentially does is that it monitors governance, most importantly, and passes commentaries on governance, usually on best practices, policy direction, among other things. I5 governance essentially advocates for the inclusion of young people and other marginalized groups in key decision making processes from society to country level. So I think basically that is what I5 governance, what Zambia is about.
Mm. All right. Pretty interesting, and of course, good to know that this is what High Five Governance Watch Zambia is all about. Now, as you know, or as you may have observed, the country after changing its leadership to a new government, many different things have taken place, both developmental and non-developmental issues. Quickly, I want us to firstly touch on the issues of the rule of law, because this is what this government preached so much or still rides on as one of the governance institutes which they will use to govern this country. And you are watching, or you are very watchful of this government and of its governance style. Can you say that we are where we are supposed to be as a country in terms of governing of the people?
Um, Thank you so much, Lance, for that wonderful question. In with, we must say, for the sake of the viewers and the listeners, that the current government voted in on the premise of um, um, restoring, by that time, what seemed to be um, the eradicating rule of law, democracy, human rights, and other components of good governance. So we
Mm.
had thousands of people that lined up on August 12th. On those,
Mr. Mbobet? Okay.
yes, and
Oh,
two
wow.
years
Yeah.
down the 2 years down the line, there's
Mhm.
looking back and saying, is this the country that we envisioned when we voted on August 12th? Is this the leadership that we voted for? Is this the rule of law that we voted for? And I think I would approach those sentiments on three dimensions, I should say. The first one is that in terms of good governance, the current government, has performed poorly, I must say. This is premised on the fact that one, this government promised to repeal laws that tend to be repressive. I think the president is on record saying the moment I'm voted into power, I'll ensure that repressive laws that tend to undermine free speech, for example, democracy, of law, are repealed. Uh, Down the line, we still have a K clause in the name of the Public Order Act, the Cyber Security, and the Criminal Libel in the Penal Code. So these laws still sit in our statutes. And despite the government sitting on over 90 members of parliament, they still haven't shown the necessary political will, to repeal these laws that tend to undermine democracy. If the president is serious, on repealing these repressive laws, he would simply instruct one of his members of parliament to start a motion, that seeks to remove these bad laws, statutes, laws that undermine our democracy, laws that undermine our rule of law, laws that undermine free speech, among others. So the president has not shown political will with regards to promoting democracy and rule of law in that aspect. Then the other thing that we can talk about is that the president is currently presiding over a government that is so intolerant towards divergent views. Look at, for example, how they are treating opposition political parties in the country. In this day and age, opposition political parties, cannot freely assemble, cannot freely speak. You look at the number of opposition political parties that have been arrested in the past 2 years, as compared to the past 11 years when the other government was in power. So it shows that it is bent, on undermining democracy, on undermining free speech, and any tenants, that will contribute to good governance. So civil society organizations have been effectively weakened by this government, and it has done this in two what I would call in two dimensions. The first one is that it has appointed the key um,
Mm.
uh, 30 players into government positions. Then the other thing that it has done to weaken the civil society, which since time immemorial has been a very instrumental voice, in defending democracy. So the other thing that it has done is that it has effectively curtailed the voice of civil society, by not granting them laws that will that will empower them in providing checks and balances uh, and oversight on government. This law may be the cybersecurity, the access to information that civil society organization and the media will use to hold government to account. So government has really been very poor in creating an atmosphere that is favorable for people to freely express themselves, for opposition political parties to
Mhm.
freely participate in the dispensation of this country. Just a fortnight ago, Lance and other listeners, you may wish to know that the Socialist Party, for example, applied for notified actually the police, to hold a rally on the Copper Belt. This
Mhm.
government not grant give them security that they needed during that procession on the basis that they do not have manpower. But they sent thousands and thousands of policemen at the venue that the Socialist Party were supposed to use to have their rally. The PF also suffered the same ordeal by this government. They notified the police to hold some party renewal card exercise. I'm not so sure
Mhm.
about that. This government said, look, you cannot have that activity due to security concerns, but they were quick, to send thousands of policemen to ensure that the activity does not progress. So these, Lance, are some of the indications, that we have to unequivocally show that this government undermines democracy. This government serious on the rule of law. This government does not tolerate free speech. Just today, Lance, and I think we need to put this on record. We have a group of young people around the country, me inclusive, that are by the police of intention to protest against the high cost of living, to protest against the fuel prices. We notified the police some 2 3 weeks ago, and as expected, they wrote back in very extraordinary circumstances, to the effect that we could not proceed with our protest because of supposedly manpower and among other reasons that they would give. But today, when we were assembled at a named premises around Lusaka, they were very quick, to send their officers just to ensure that young people are gagged, young people are not given access to speak, young people do not express themselves on pertinent national issues, which is very unfortunate. And it is so disappointing that the president who was voted for by the majority of the young people is now presiding over a government that is gagging the same young people, that is threatening the same young people with arrest, and that does not want young people to speak on issues that are affecting them and affecting the country. So, in terms of good governance, democracy, this government has performed poorly. And it is so um, it is shocking, because we had so much hope in this president. I think it has been so difficult for him to learn from successive governments, because we've had successive governments that have tried to gag young people, to gag the population, the population at large, from expressing themselves, speaking out on matters of national importance. But really, it hasn't ended in very good terms, with those government, the people. A long time ago, Lance, I must put this out here, was that um, people thought Kaunda was Wamuyayaya, that's how they called him, but his last term especially was marred with um, 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 a dictatorial tendencies, I must say, and since he had control of the police, of the army, of civil society, of the church, people thought it was not possible to have Kaunda hounded out of office. And, removing Kaunda out of office did not even require any unconstitutional change. It is us young people, it is us the people of Zambia that lined up and voted against Kaunda. So even this government should probably take a leaf from what happened to Kaunda and what has happened to successive governments with regards to how they have been thrown out of power by the same people that they want to marginalize, by the same people that they want to gag. So it is quite disappointing. It is a very disappointing. And if the president continues with this particular trajectory, we should be rest assured that what President Lungu, what happens to President Lungu.
Mr. Mbombela, are you still here with us?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Am I audible?
At some point, I had lost you. At some
I've
point, I
just
had. Okay, you've just
at what
concluded. Okay. Um, so now, here, when we talk of maybe the scores and the non-scores that this government has made, they will definitely come back to you and say, this is only 2 years that we have been in power, and you can't expect that everything can be done within 2 years, or maybe everything can be done within a shortest period of time, because there is need for time. This government has been high, saying that the system was rotten. Therefore, they are trying to clean. They've been trying to clean, and in the cleaning process, this is where you are finding these little pockets of other people being overzealous, or maybe not working with the government's policy in making sure that rule of law is maintained, or the rule of law is brought back, as well as also for the people to finally see the fruits of what this government has brought.
Okay, am I audible, Lance?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much. Wow, there have been such the sentiments, especially by the supporters of the party in power. Um, the problem I think that they have continued to make is that um, hoped the standard that was left by PF to be the standard that we should adopt now. That is the problem. If, for example, in PF, the leaders under PF abrogated, the rule of law, for example, or undermined all tenets of democracy. Maybe let me be a little bit specific. What this government is trying, or what this government is trying to say, is that since PF arrested 30 people on archaic laws, for example, defamation of the president. Us, we've only arrested 15 people, So PF should not be a poor record. There shouldn't be a standard for Zambia. There is a normal standard that we need to adopt, and that normal standard is provided for in the law. PF should not be the measuring stick. They have their own poor record on how they under democracy, on how they mistreated other people, and so on and so forth. So UPND mustn't ride on the standard, on the poor standard that was sent by the people. Zambians deserve a normal standard, and that normal standard is provided for in our laws. So I do not appreciate when this government says, look, this is what used to happen in the PF, this is what is happening here, and so on and so forth. The reason that the people voted out PF and put in UPND was not for UPND to come and blame the PF 2 years later. I think by now people are out of that hangover, for blaming the Patriotic Front for all the misfortunes, or for any retrogressive act that they did whilst in power. This time they expect the UPND to perform according to how they were but if we continuously blame the PF, it is getting boring. People want results. There is poverty in the country. There is a attitude undermining of democracy. So if we continue saying it's PF, what record would UPND leave for its own? Remember UPND for if we remove the poor standard that was left by the PF. So I really do not appreciate when they try to put PF as the yardstick to what they want to achieve. PF are their own records, they are their own successes, they are their own failure. So what they need to do is to ride on the failures of the PF and prove to the people of Zambia that lined up on 12th of August 2021 to say you voted for the right people, right party, and this is what we are doing different from what the previous government that we voted out did. By now we need to see results, but it has been so pathetic, I should put it that way, Lance, because we have not seen any signs that we are now living under what they call the new dawn. What is new about this government when it continuously blames the all the misfortunes. What is new about this government? What is the new dawn about this government when it points failures towards the former ruling party, that was rounded out of office 2 years, that is a long time, even for me as an individual to blame the person that did me wrong. 2 years is a long time. They would have healed by now. They must have employed their plan, How were they coming into office if they didn't have a plan on how they are going to sort out the damages that were seemingly left by this party? So I think we need to seriously interrogate this government, hold them to account, to say, look, you have your own, remove PF out of the equation, and really PF is not in the equation. What record are you leaving? What are you doing? What are you doing to address the challenges, the key challenges that people are going through? There is so much poverty in the country now. An ordinary Zambian is not having basic needs like water, electricity, even a decent meal. A family of 10 right now, Lance, are surviving on 1 meal per day. And that meal is probably candle or tute because the price of meal has gone high up. People are not affording to buy this.
Mr. Mbombela, we'll come to the high cost of living. First of all, I want us to exhaust this issue or this elephant in the room, the issue of the rule of law. Remember that when President Hichilema and the UPND government took over, they promised that the caliber of the people that were going to be appointed or put into leadership positions were people that were going to put a high standard and obviously see to it that they work for the people and not against the people. Not some few weeks ago, I hosted a UPND member of parliament for, if not Kalomo, it should be Kalomo Central, who said that the UPND MPs the independence to say, you stop crying about the high cost of living, but rather you should stop crying about intimidation, rather, since you're saying Public Order Act. You should stop crying about that. Instead, let's work on amending this, this act or this Public Order Act. And according to him, he says the PF MPs are the ones that are delaying the process because they do not want to cooperate. So it's like the country has been reduced to PF and UPND, unlike looking at an ordinary Zambian.
I could not get the last part of the question, Lance.
Okay, so the last part of the question is it that this country has now been reduced to PF and UPND, unlike looking at the plight of an ordinary Zambian, because even churches now are being told to get a permit. If you remember in the Copper Belt, that church gathering was refused to take place, or because former president was visiting there, they were told they did not get a permit. You have cited, incidences where the police has refused permits. And the UPND, this Kalomo MP that I hosted on another platform, said that it's the PF that are adamant in moving the motion or agreeing with the motion of repealing the Public Order Act. Could that be the reality on the ground?
Wow. Thank you so much, Lance, once again. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. All these circumstances that we're talking about, Lance, just point at one thing. And that one thing is the leadership that we have. It all goes back to leadership because we've got an individual at State House who's presiding over all these affairs that we are talking about here. And it is indeed our responsibility as civil society organization, as the media, to go back to him and say, look, This is what you said when you are campaigning, but this is the reality. Let me, for example, start with the issue of the Public Order Act. In the Public Order Act, Lance, I think since time immemorial, we have collectively, as a people, identified sections that undermine democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Am I audible, Lance?
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
you are. I
We
can hear you.
have identified key sections that we feel as a people are retrogressive and they should be expunged from our statutes. Maybe just an example is even the issue of notifying the police when we want to protest, when we want to gather, when we want to do free speech, among other things. I think that one has been very categorical. A lot of stakeholders have bemoaned such a law that tends to give uh, police the discretion to grant, a go ahead for any person intending to protest. I think we've been categorical on that law, and we said we need to. The other thing, perhaps, that we can talk about, Lance, is that um, criminal libel, that has also been used by successive governments to put critics in prison behind bars for merely just insulting these politicians. There's been another law that has fundamentally attracted a lot of attention, and we have collectively agreed that we need to repeal this law. To address the question of the Public Order Act, Lance, it is extremely important to understand that, look, when we amend this law, in whose interest are we amending the law? Is it in the interest of the politicians, or is it in the interest of the Zambian people, or is it in the interest of opposition political parties? I think that is the most important question that we understand, and that is the most important question that we need to pose to the people in government, especially to the member of parliament that you hosted, that suggested that the opposition political parties, seemingly do not want to proceed with amendment of the said law. I think this issue of amending the Public Order Act, which we as a people have collectively agreed to amend, should not be left between political party A and political party B. In this case, the UPND and the Patriotic Front. The duty of these people in power to amend the law is given to them by us, the people of Zambia. I think we need to be very deliberate about that. We send our representatives to parliament, send our representatives into government offices, and when we send them there, we need to give them the mandate. And where you and me, Lance, say, look, these are the laws that we need to I think those people.
Mm. Mr. Mbombela, I seem to have lost you now. All right. As we are waiting for Mr. Mbombela to probably come back and continue his thought, to you, our dear viewers, remember that we have shared with you the studio link, which if you would love to be part of the program, you can join us into the studio by simply clicking on that link and then be able to join us into the studio. Let's have this particular interaction as we are talking about governance issues. When we talk governance issues, obviously, we are not limited to one, but trying to see which ones we can touch on and which ones may be of importance that we get to look at them. This is the Wednesday's edition of Meet Your Leaders. Of course, let me tell you, this it's only the Wednesday's edition that we have anyway. Yeah, getting used with other programs, Chaza, where you have 2, 3 editions, and you are forced to mention this is the Chitechi's edition. But anyway, we'll come back on video, Chaza. You are on mute.
Thank you so much. Some of us that we born before technology, BBC as it were, sometimes technology gets to override us. But it's good to be back indeed.
All right, great. So, our dear viewers, in
Mhm.
case you have just joined us, we are hosting Mr. Charles Mbombela, who is coming from High Five Governance Watch, Zambia, the Zambian chapter. This is an organization that has faced in the whole of Africa. And Mr. Mbombela is the country lead as we are talking or discussing governance issues. And when you found us, we were talking about the Public Order Act, or simply put, in a bracket, we're talking about the rule of law and current type of governance that this new government in the Republic of Zambia has decided to take. Mr. Mbovela, are you back? Okay, I can't get him. I think this is still a sign that we do not have him back. But however, quite a number of issues, Chaza, that he has highlighted, and as an organization which they think and feel that so far this government hasn't done, but has rather decided to take the route of finger pointing or blaming the X rather than working on whatever that the X did not do or bettering the lives of the people. All right, Mr. Mboyela, is that you trying to come back?
Audible. Can you get
I
me?
think I only heard audio. Yes, yes, now we can get you.
You can get me now?
Yes, please. Uh, all right. So now, I don't know if Chaza has anything, but now I think I would love to coin in the issue that you partly touched, the issue of the cost of living, which is currently pertaining in the country, where we have seen a number of essential commodities going up or going high. And just last week, we saw the JCTR producing their monthly reports as they always do. And this, they are saying the cost of living is still alarmingly high, as still in Lusaka, a family of 5 has to survive on over 8,000, simply put 9,000 something kwacha. Uh, how does government come in to cushion such high cost of living? Or what does this government need to do to see to it that an average Zambian, a non-working Zambian, a Zambian that depends on piecework yakuti maybe atengako 50 kwacha per day, nayo eyo ngati bamungenesa ngaswana mungenese kuyabebere. How is the government supposed to look into these issues and making sure that this average Zambian gets to afford a meal at least each and every day?
Wow. Thank you so much, Lance. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, I can get you myself. If you got the question right, you can proceed and get to address it.
Thank you so much, comrades, colleagues. I think it is extremely important to mention that in August 2021, specifically on August 12, when people were lining up to vote for this government, among other things, they were voting on the premise that the cost of living was extremely high up. I think that's why a number of youths, marketeers, policemen, and all other ordinary Zambians lined up to vote out the Patriotic Front on the basis that there was anger in the country at that particular time. So 2 years down the line, what has the government done to remedy the mischief that was caused by PF before August 2021? I think that is the most important question that we need to ask ourselves and that we need to ask the people that we voted for in August 2021. The 2 years that they've been in power, Lance and Chaza, the circumstances are that commodity prices, have gone up 100% in the past 2 years, which is very alarming. A bag of milling meal, for example, that fetched around 150 before August 2021 is now close to 300 kwacha. The commodity has even become very scarce. It is now a preserve of a selected few that can drive from Kamwala to Twin Palm and fetch a 25 kilogram of milling. Cooking oil has gone high up. And all this has been pointed to one fundamental reason. And our economist friends are saying is the fuel pump price. That has, first of all, been very unstable and has been skyrocketing since 2021 August. As at August 2021, the price of fuel was around 15. This time it is around 30 kwacha. That is petrol. The are very expensive. These people that are doing buses, Yango, and this sector are adversely affected by this scourge. The cost of production has now gone high up. The person that moves tomato from Soweto to Kamwala is having it very difficult to conduct his business because fuel has gone high up, the cost of production has gone high up, and everything, essential commodities, are highly exorbitant. And the people that are affected more, Lance, are the millions and millions of unemployed Zambians. The challenge that we have, especially amongst young people, is unemployment. People hardly survive in their unemployed status. But if there is commodity price, it becomes worse. This government has economic genocide against people. It has committed economic genocide against an ordinary Zambian. Let us look at what it has done to the street vendors that entirely depend on selling katapa and tomato at Chisokone. These people are completely gone and they are not conducting their businesses. This means a person that operates a wheelbarrow will not have any money at the end of the day. Those people that is a zera around our markets will not have anything. There is absolute poverty in our communities. Maybe we may be exempted for us that are staying in Lusaka, in the urban setup. But of course, we are not spared to all extents. But we've got relatives that stay in these rural places. I've got relatives in Kalulushi. I've got relatives here in Lusaka. In Chawama, for example. There is so much poverty in these compounds. People are hardly affording a meal in a day. What these people in these communities are doing, Lance, is that they are contributing 5 families coming together. So it is a sorry side. The government has committed economic genocide and people are struggling to feed their families. People are less productive because they are not eating. Food is expensive, oil is expensive. They cannot even buy luxury like soap because of the economic turmoil that we are in as a country. And it is the responsibility of this government to cushion the people that are adversely affected. They need to create avenues that will create employment for young people. They need to create favorable economic environments for an ordinary Zambian to strive. Even CDF that they have increased, that they've been increasing, is doing little or nothing to directly impact a Zambian citizen because of the bureaucracy that has been surrounded, that has surrounded CDF. Even if you go in these compounds, Lance, you will not find any single person that has expressly benefited from CDF. Am I audible, Lance?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes, we can get you.
So this is the predicament. If you used to send 300 kwacha in the village for your family of 5 to survive in a month, this time it will have to be 600 or 700 kwacha. And they can't even buy essential commodities at home. So it is so disheartening that this government, despite numerous calls by stakeholders, by opposition political parties, and by civil society organizations, to perhaps try to subsidize the price of premium or fuel, so that an average Zambian would afford to have even 2 meals. But it has been extremely stubborn. The problem is that they do not even take time and go back in this, they do not even take time and go back in this compound and see how people are living. It is so unfortunate that this government that was expected to do more for the people of Zambia has disappointed an ordinary Zambian at the expense of the foreign entities and the foreign nationals that they continuously mingle with. This time, the only people that are doing well, either socially, financially, economically, are the people that are not indigenous Zambians, because they are the ones that are getting tax holidays, they are the ones that are getting tax exemptions, and so on and so forth, and their businesses are flourishing. But a Zambian business person has been put in a very compromising situation because of the cost of production is going high up. A Baba man this time cannot even afford to make a profit for himself because units, electricity is very expensive. And this government seems, like the Minister of Justice said just a fortnight ago, that they have performed to the expectations of Zambian people and they are sleeping comfortably. And indeed, they are sleeping comfortably because they have got salaries, they have got enough resources to feed themselves and feed their families, which is very, very unfortunate. These politicians.
Mr. Mbombela, maybe, sorry to cut you short. We do agree that things are not good as we speak today, and the current government had indicated that we needed to brace ourselves as we are looking forward to seeing change because of the distraction that was done by the previous government. And they also indicated that if the previous government had continued, the situation today could have been worse. And as we stand, this is why they are saying, they are sleeping, well, comfortably, because they have done pretty well. Because, if the previous government had continued, we could have been, in a worse, situation. Is have this statement, does it have any veracity according to you? And looking again at the time that I've been in government, they are saying, this is not much time for them to have enhanced real change. How much time, in your own opinion, is required, for real change to come, especially at the time that, we do have change of, government?
Thank you so much, Chaza, for that.
Unfortunately, we can't
I
get
must,
any.
however,
We had lost you, and now we can hear
am I
you.
audible?
Maybe you can pick it up again from where we didn't hear.
All right, thank you. I must be quick to say that it is the responsibility of a government to improve the livelihood of its people. And this responsibility cannot be shared or cannot be put on a foreign country, for example, or any other individual. Government carries the sole responsibility of improving the livelihood of people. I think that is why they were elected. That is why we line up to vote for these political parties, for these candidates. For starters, I think it needs to be categorical. Um, this government has pointed at the PF for all the economic hardships that we have had as a country, that we are still going through. The problem, however, is that look, it is presiding over the same people, same individuals, and almost same circumstances. During or August 12, when people were voting for this, the current government, the was not as expensive as it is. The price of fuel was not as expensive as it is right now. So even their sentiments, that suggest that they are better than the previous government, who seem so far-fetched, and an ordinary Zambian will have it very difficult to comprehend such statements, because an ordinary Zambian will say, look, before you people came in, I was able to buy a bag of meal at 150 kwacha, but this time we are buying it at 300 kwacha. What sort of justification do you have, to the effects that you are better off than this government? It is like a family. You are a father, a chaza, and you manage to buy your kids, bread like once in a week, or maybe 3 times in a week. Then when they go to their stepfather, for example, that father is only buying once in a week, or he's not even buying something at all. Then he continuously says, I'm better off than the father that used to buy you 3 times in a week. Is there any logical sense? Oh, wow, easy will it be for the kids to comprehend to such statement, or just appreciate the gravity of such statement? It is really far-fetched. So this government needs to be very realistic, and they also need to respect the collective wisdom that the Zambian people have. It is me who lines up to vote for this government when I was buying millimil at 140 kwacha. How can Aimbe, in his right mind, come back to me and say, look, Charles Mbombela, we are better off with this government where you are buying meal at 300 kwacha than it were before August 2021? It is so illogical, and I feel is undermining my credibility, even my own wisdom as an individual, because these are things that I'm able to see, that I'm able to attest to, that I'm able to provide comparative evidence for. So I think politicians should not take Zambians for granted, and they need to respect the collective wisdom of the Zambian people if they are going to govern this country. I think that is on our first point. Then on the second issue, am I audible? Am I still audible?
Yes, indeed, you are very clear.
Thank you so much. Then on the second issue, where you are talking about, I'm so sorry, just remind me on the second issue that we're addressing.
You are on mute, Chaza.
Okay, so the second issue I was, indicating that the time that has been given, to the new dawn is too short, according to them, for them to
Okay.
actually, see, real change that can be effected as to the distraction that was caused by the PF.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a very wonderful question. Chaza, even for us people that were lining up to vote for this government in August 2021, we really managed our expectations. We managed our expectations. And I think 1 year down the line, I had an interview, should be on this program or another program that I appeared on. And I said, look, for all of us that thought the UPND government was going to change economic fortunes of the country within a year or in 6 months, I think we need to manage our expectations, not magic. However, Charles, the issue is that, look, even when they cannot provide immediate solutions, we need to see a plan that they have to revive the economy, for example. By now, we would have seen their strategic plan on how they intend, for example, to give us the economic fortunes that we are waiting for. You know, so we don't necessarily expect them to perform their miracles within a year, but they need to give us a plan, something that we can work with. It's like where I stay, for example, at my house. If I get married today, Chanza, and I live with the family, my wife, and all other people, if we do not have food in the house, at least I need to assure my wife and the people that I'm keeping to say, look, I'm working on this project. Once I'm done within the next 3, 4, 5 days, I'll get some money, then I'll pay, I'll buy all the food that we need in this house. So I think that gives them assurance that no, this person is not sitting on his hands, he's got a plan, this is what he's doing. And I think even the person that is almost dying of hunger will be refilled, will be rejuvenated with that hope to say food is coming very soon. But that has been void in this government. There is no clear cut policy or direction that seeks to reassure or assure the people of Zambia of the economic fortunes. So we are just sitting and waiting. What we are waiting for, we don't know. They have not provided any plan on how they intend, to reduce the cost of living, to reduce meal, to is it 50 kwacha or reduce fuel to 5 kwacha. We are still waiting for this government to remove the middleman and the president to apply the formulae that he applied, and so on and so forth. So we are blank as a people. We don't know what they are doing. We don't know the plan. And we are living a life of we are left in a space where we are just living. We don't know what is coming tomorrow because they have not provided a clear cut plan. And for us as civil society organizations and even you colleagues in the media, we don't have to wait for this government to complete its tenure of 5 years before we can start criticizing them, before we can start checking up on them. It's like I get on a bus from Intercity with an intention of going to Copper Belt. Then the driver starts going to Eastern Province. I don't have to wait for the driver to reach Chipata for me to say, Buana, I did not intend on coming here. Just as he is losing, then I need to chip on the shoulder and say, look, Mabuana, we are losing direction. We are supposed to aid this direction. And that is what we need to do to this government. There is no time, for us to sit
So, Mr. Mbolera, you've been cut. I don't know if you can hear me. I would like, to find out further because you've put it right that, I like the example you've given. If you've gotten on a bus, you intend to go elsewhere and the driver is taking you elsewhere, you need to tell them that this is not the direction that, you need to take. Now, let's imagine that the current government has admitted to say that, okay, yes, things are tough, things are bad, and we don't know the direction to take, and they are looking, forward to be advised. what are some of the strategies that you would advise the government to undertake so as to improve things from where we are? Mr. Mbombela, are you there? It's unfortunate. It looks as though our guests can no longer hear us. Lance, are you there?
Yes, Chaza, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's unfortunate that our guest appears, to not to be connected right now, and we have, run out of time. But I wish he could take up, this last question. But due to time, I think we need to come to a close. This point in time, would like to thank the viewers out there, the listeners, the followers. We sincerely appreciate, for being with us from the time the program started up to this time around. And not forgetting our guest tonight, Mr. Charles Mbombela. We greatly appreciate and we look forward even to having you even next time. It's sad that connectivity hasn't, been so good tonight. Not forgetting the main host of the program, Lance Sanibanda, and myself, the co-host. Thank you so much. We are saying God bless you. Till next time, we are out of here. Our guest there is gesticulating that.
Can you hear me, Mr. Bo? Okay, we equally can't hear you. I think this is due to some network challenges. Okay, Chaza, it seems like we still have issues with the internet, but maybe just a quick one. Let's do a great lookout to everyone that has come through on the program via our socials. Obviously, the former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Defense, Mr. Mali, came through. He left us a comment, and then Himba as well left us a comment right there, and many others that did, which I can't unfortunately remember all the names, but a great look out to everybody that has made their time to watch the program and, of course, to be a part. Looking forward to being back on Wednesday as we bring yet another exciting guest on this very platform. And, of course, to our producer, Emmanuel Nkonika, we say thank you as well. Until we meet, we say bye-bye and have a great week.